For most of human history, home didn't exist. No walls, no roof, just open sky and whatever was out there in the dark. Rain, wind, cold, predators. The night attacked from every direction at once. Even other animals had solved this problem. Lions climb trees, birds build nests, bears find dens. Humans were somehow the last to figure it out. The first human shelter wasn't built. It was borrowed. A natural cave, already there, already shaped. Add a fire, and suddenly you had walls, a roof, warmth, and light. 4 problems solved at once. Rock walls are extraordinary insulators. A cave stays almost the same temperature year-round, cool in summer, relatively warm in winter. The first human settlements weren't villages, they were cliff faces. Stack multiple families vertically in a cliff face, and you already have the concept of an apartment building, 40,000 years before concrete existed. And once humans had a home, they decorated it. The oldest known paintings in the world are inside homes, human homes. But caves had one catastrophic flaw. You couldn't take them with you, and most of the world had no caves at all. Every time humans moved into new territory, the shelter problem started over from scratch, which meant they had to build something for the very first time. The first human-built shelter was probably just branches, leaned together, covered with leaves, done. The oldest evidence of a built human structure is 400,000 years old, found in Nice, France. An oval hut made of branches and stones. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. They built it. They chose where it went. That decision, to build rather than find, changed the entire relationship between humans and the land beneath them. For the first time, humans didn't fit into the landscape. They modified it. Branches kept out wind. Adding hides kept out rain. The same logic as a jacket, just scaled up to fit a family. And crucially, it packed up. You could carry your home with you. Portable shelter let humans follow herds, track seasons, and push into landscapes no one had ever reached. But once humans stopped moving, everything changed again. Mud, the most abundant building material on Earth, free, shapeable, and when it dried, surprisingly strong. Mud walls breathe. They regulate temperature naturally, cool in heat, warm in cold. The first permanent villages appeared roughly 12,000 years ago, right as farming began. A permanent home meant you could store food, store tools, accumulate things, build wealth. Civilization didn't create permanent homes. Permanent homes created civilization. In one of the world's first cities, people entered their homes through the roof. No streets, no front doors, just ladders from above. 9,000 years ago, 10,000 people lived this way in one city. It worked. But mud had one enemy it couldn't beat. Rain. Enough rain and a mud wall simply melts back into the ground. But stone doesn't dissolve. Stone doesn't rot. Stone doesn't burn. The problem with stone was simple. It weighed as much as the earth it came from. Every stone structure was in a constant battle with gravity. Early stone builders could only stack one flat stone on top of another. But a horizontal stone beam can only span so far before gravity snaps it in half. This is why ancient stone buildings couldn't have wide open spaces inside. The stone simply wouldn't allow it. Egyptian temples needed columns every few meters, not for beauty, because without them, the ceiling would collapse. Then someone discovered one of the greatest structural ideas in human history: the arch. An arch doesn't fight gravity, it redirects it, pushing force sideways into the ground instead of straight down. With the arch, you could suddenly span enormous distances, carry impossible weights, and build things that lasted not years, but millennia. Rome didn't conquer the ancient world only with armies. It conquered it with architecture. And Rome had a secret weapon: concrete. Roman concrete actually gets stronger over time when exposed to seawater. Modern concrete crumbles after decades. Roman harbor walls built 2,000 years ago are still intact. We are only now beginning to understand how they made it. The Pantheon, built 125 AD, still the largest unreinforced concrete dome on Earth. As it rises, the dome gets lighter, heavier stone at the bottom, volcanic pumice near the top. They understood structural engineering 2,000 years before we named it. Then Rome fell, and 1,000 years of building knowledge nearly went with it. Across most of Europe, people went back to building in wood and mud. But one building type survived and evolved: the castle. Castle walls weren't architecture, they were weapons. 3 to 4 meters of solid stone designed to make violence fail. Every element of a castle had one purpose: to keep the people inside alive. Strip away the stone and the banners, and a castle is just a very expensive cave. But medieval builders did make one breakthrough of their own: the pointed arch. It channels weight downward more efficiently, meaning walls could be thinner and windows could be enormous. Gothic cathedrals weren't built to impress kings. They were structural experiments, engineers pushing stone to its absolute limit to let in as much light as possible. The flying buttress wasn't decoration either. It was a structural arm reaching outside the building to catch the roof's outward push. For most of history, buildings were designed by feel, by tradition, by copying what worked before. The Renaissance changed that. For the first time, buildings were designed entirely on paper before a single stone was laid. Brunelleschi built the Florence Cathedral dome without a wooden support frame, a feat so extraordinary that nobody believed it was possible until it was finished. His secret: a double shell design where the inner dome supported the outer one, 2 domes acting as one. It was the tallest structure in Europe for over 100 years. People walked for days just to see it. Then came the Industrial Revolution, and everything accelerated. For the first time, building materials were mass-produced. Cities that had taken centuries to grow now doubled in size in a decade. The humble brick is one of the most structurally efficient objects ever designed. Its proportions haven't changed in 4,000 years. An Egyptian brick from 3000 BC and a brick from a modern hardware store are the same shape because that shape is mathematically perfect for stacking. Then in 1851, iron entered construction, and the ceiling literally disappeared. Iron could carry the same load as a stone wall 3 meters thick, in a beam just centimeters wide. The Crystal Palace in London, built in 1851, enclosed more floor space than any building in history, in 9 months. From prefabricated parts, a medieval cathedral took 200 years. Crystal Palace took 9 months. The pace of building had just shifted by a factor of 300. But iron had one weakness: it could bend. Steel, iron with carbon precisely added, was stronger, lighter, and more flexible. It changed everything. The first true skyscraper appeared in Chicago in 1885. 10 floors, steel skeleton. The world had never seen a building that tall that fast. A steel frame works like a skeleton. The walls don't hold anything up. They're just the skin hanging on the bones. For 6,000 years, walls held up roofs. Steel made walls optional. That's why modern buildings are mostly glass. Once steel made height possible, cities started racing upward. The Empire State Building added a new floor every single day, over 400 days. Humans had gone from a cave in a cliff face to a steel cave 400 meters in the air. Today, more than half of all humans live in apartments. An apartment building is one of the most complex objects humans build. Thousands of interlocking systems inside a single structure. The cliff with its caves, the building with its floors. The idea is exactly the same, just 30,000 years and 1,000 engineering discoveries apart. Every apartment window glowing in the rain is the same idea that started in a cave. Keep the dark out. Keep the warmth in. Stay alive through the night. Concrete is extraordinary under pressure from above, but pull it sideways or bend it, and it shatters like glass. Concrete has almost no tensile strength. The solution arrived in the 1850s. Embed steel inside concrete. Steel handles the tension. Concrete handles the compression. Together they cover everything the other can't do alone. Reinforced concrete is now the most widely used building material in human history. More of it is produced every year than all other building materials combined. We pour more concrete every 2 years than was used in the entire 20th century. The irony, ancient Roman concrete outlasts ours. We're still reverse engineering it. Here's something nobody mentions about skyscrapers. Without one invention, every floor above the 4th is essentially useless. Nobody wants to climb 20 flights of stairs every day. Twice. Before 1852, the entire world built no higher than people were willing to walk. Then, in 1852, Elisha Otis invented the safety elevator and proved it by cutting the cable in front of a live audience. Spring-loaded clamps locked into the guide rails the instant tension left the cable. The car could never fall. Within 20 years of the safety elevator, the top floor became the most desirable floor. The whole logic of cities flipped. The elevator didn't just move people between floors. It compressed entire cities, fitting what once needed kilometers of land into a few city blocks. The penthouse only exists because of a spring-loaded clamp invented by one man in 1852. But packing millions of people into dense vertical cities created a new problem. A glass skyscraper in summer is essentially a greenhouse. Without intervention, interior temperatures become unsurvivable. Air conditioning moves heat. It doesn't create cold. It takes warmth from inside and throws it outside. Phoenix, Dubai, Singapore, Houston. None of these cities could exist at their current scale without air conditioning. The technology didn't just cool buildings. It relocated civilization. Air conditioning added more usable hours to the human workday in hot climates than almost any other invention. The uncomfortable irony: every air conditioner that cools the inside makes the outside hotter. Cities run millions of them simultaneously. The Earth moves, and when it does, rigid buildings, the kind that lasted millennia, become death traps. A building that can't flex breaks. The goal of earthquake engineering is controlled flexibility. Base isolators, giant pads of rubber and steel under the entire building, let the ground move while the building above barely feels it. Taipei 101 has a 660-ton steel ball suspended inside it. When the building sways in wind or earthquake, the ball swings the opposite way, canceling the movement. Tokyo sits on 4 tectonic plates simultaneously. Its buildings are some of the most earthquake-engineered structures ever built. Quick fact: modern windows are filled with argon gas between 2 panes. Argon barely conducts heat. It's insulation made of air. Quick fact: soundproofing works by interrupting sound waves. Dense materials stop them. Air gaps scatter them. Soft materials absorb what's left. Quick fact: the Burj Khalifa's foundations go 50 meters into the ground. The building you see above is smaller than the structure hidden below. Quick fact: the shape of a skyscraper determines how hard wind hits it. Tapered tops, twisted profiles, and rounded corners can cut wind load by up to 40%. Quick fact: a modern apartment building contains more pipe and cable per square meter than the human body contains blood vessels and nerves. It's a living system. The next revolution in shelter is already beginning. Buildings that generate their own energy, capture their own water, recycle their own heat. In 2023, the first fully 3D printed neighborhoods appeared. A house that once took months to build now takes 24 hours. The same disruption that the brick kiln brought to stone is coming to construction itself. Mass timber skyscrapers are rising in cities worldwide. Buildings made entirely of engineered wood, stronger than concrete at a fraction of the weight. Cross-laminated timber is so strong that an 18-story wooden building can outperform steel in a fire, because the wood shares on the outside and insulates the structural core. Some engineers are designing floating cities. As sea levels rise, the logic of shelter may soon extend onto the ocean itself. And NASA is already designing shelters for the Moon and Mars, where the enemy isn't rain or cold, but radiation, vacuum, and micrometeorites. A cave on Earth, a dome on Mars. The same question: how do I stay alive inside this environment? And right now, wherever you're watching this, you're inside a structure that took our species 200,000 years to figure out. The rain outside can't touch you. The wind means nothing. Every problem that made the open night lethal for 200,000 years, solved invisibly by the walls around you. Look at any city at night. Every lit window is a human who made it through another day. From space, you can see exactly where humans solved the shelter problem, and where they haven't yet. It started with someone leaning branches together in the rain, just trying to make it through the night. Everything built since has been the same idea: getting better. And somewhere out there, someone is still asking how to make it better. We've talked about walls, roofs, and foundations. But what about the parts we interact with every day? The lock is at least 4,000 years old. The basic pin tumbler mechanism in your front door today works on the exact same principle as ancient Egyptian wooden locks. 4,000 years, same idea. Windows existed for thousands of years before glass entered them. For most of history, a window was just a hole. Letting in light meant letting in cold. The glass window solved one of architecture's oldest trade-offs. Glass lets light through, but partially blocks infrared radiation, meaning sunlight enters and warms the interior, but the warmth can't fully escape back out. Your house is a controlled greenhouse. Every window is harvesting the sun's energy, for free. For most of history, people living in the same building couldn't avoid each other. The corridor was invented in the 1600s. Before it existed, every room led directly into the next. There was no such thing as private space inside a building. The corridor gave every room its own entrance, and with it, every person their own privacy. Privacy, as we understand it, the ability to be alone inside a shared structure, is an architectural invention less than 400 years old. The modern apartment is the corridor idea taken to its logical extreme. Maximum privacy packed at maximum density. Did you know? A standard brick is precisely twice as long as it is wide, and twice as wide as it is tall. This ratio hasn't changed in 4,000 years because it's mathematically perfect for interlocking under load. Did you know? Concrete production causes roughly 8% of all global CO2 emissions, more than the entire aviation industry. The material holding our cities up is one of the biggest climate problems we have. Did you know? Glass is made from sand. Ordinary beach sand, melted at over 1,000 degrees. The most transparent material humans build with is made from the most opaque. Did you know? A large timber beam in a fire is actually more predictable than steel. Steel softens and collapses unpredictably. Timber chars at a known rate. Engineers calculate exactly how long the structure holds. Did you know? Wall insulation works identically to the mammoth fur from our last video. Fibers trapping still air to stop heat escaping. The physics hasn't changed, just the scale. Did you know? Venice is built on millions of wooden stakes driven into the lagoon floor. The stakes preserved for centuries because submerged wood, starved of oxygen, doesn't rot. The city is sitting on a forest. Did you know? Skyscrapers are designed to sway, sometimes by over a meter at the top. A building that can't flex would simply snap. The movement is intentional. Did you know? A modern, smart building contains more sensors than the human body has nerve endings. It's continuously monitoring itself, adjusting heating, lighting, and airflow in real time. But here's the part this video can't ignore. Right now, over 1 billion people, 1 in 8 humans alive, live in informal settlements without adequate shelter. We know how to build. We have the materials, the technology, and the engineering. The shelter problem was never just engineering. It was always also about who the engineering was for. That first human leaning branches together in the rain wasn't an architect. They were just someone trying to make tomorrow possible. Every structure between that first shelter and a Mars habitat is just a better version of the same answer. Look at your city at night. Every lit window is 200,000 years of trial and error, keeping one more person dry. Not bad for a species that started with branches. If this made you look at your walls differently, we did our job. Subscribe. New video every week. Same format, different question. Last week we asked why humans wear clothes. Next week, something you've never thought to question either. See you in the next one.